Welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm your host, Jennifer Loading, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends, these are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Well, as I always say, I'm excited about my guest today. I'm always excited about my guest today because I get to talk to amazing people. Anyways, let's get a little bit of information about him. He has led campaigns for Fortune 500 companies and provided individual guidance to athletes, executives, and various individuals. What sets him apart is his openness about his journey through addiction and recovery, a unique quality he willingly shares with anyone who listens. He firmly believes that transparency about personal struggles breaks down barriers that often hinder people from seeking help. Devoting his life to sobriety, he's committed to assisting individuals and companies in reaching their authentic goals. So I'm excited to chat with him today. I think you guys are going to be in for a real treat. But before I officially welcome him, I do need to make a few quick announcements. So this episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Productions. Need to add excitement to your YouTube videos or some expert hands for editing? Look no further. Walt Mills is the solution you've been searching for. Walt is not only your go-to guy for spicing up content, he's the force behind a thriving film production company with numerous titles in the pipeline. Always on the lookout for raw talent, Walt is eager to collaborate on film and internet productions. With a background deeply rooted in entertainment and promotion, Walt Mills leverages years of skills to give you the spotlight you deserve. Want to learn more about Walt and his work? Head on over to waltmillsproductions.net and let your content shine.
Entrepreneurs, are you ready to level up your leadership skills? Tune in now for an exclusive offer designed just for you.
This is my time.
Did you know 63% of consumers prefer businesses aligned with their values? Recognizing your core values isn't just vital for business growth, it's the bedrock of effective leadership. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or an aspiring creator, identifying your core values is a key step in constructing the framework of a successful leader, enabling you to lead authentically, expand your business, and live life on your terms.
I never settled on play, putting the kettle to flame. I go 100 all day, foot on the pedal, no brakes. 10, 9, paid on my dues, waited in line, 8, 7.
Are you ready to access tools to kickstart your leadership journey? Unlock a treasure trove of insights and get your free resources at www.linktree/Jennifer Loading. Take that crucial first step toward realizing your leadership aspirations and elevate your leadership game today.
Ready to shine, brighter than all of the
Lots to talk about. Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk to Jay today. I'm so excited. Jay Staples is the owner and CEO of Sober Caddy Creative Agency. With a prosperous career spanning advertising and mental health substance abuse industries, Jay has consistently carved out a niche by harnessing creativity wherever he goes. Notably, he's the mastermind behind the Authentically Sober coaching platform, employing creativity and humor to guide individuals in discovering their authentic principles. So welcome to the show, Jay. I'm excited to chat with you. So tell us a little bit about what you got going on right now. I love what you're doing, but our audience is going to want to know what this is.
I started a firm called Sober Caddy Creative Agency about 8 or 9 years ago. I think I'm getting all kinds of crud that we need to establish when we actually went and opened our doors for business. But in the last 4 or 5 years, we've kind of really taken off, working directly with athletes in the collegiate space and in the professional space, and also executives. I have a creative background and advertising background. My dad had a small ad agency growing up. And then I've always kind of bounced around from, passion to purpose to all kinds of stuff, playing golf, wanting to do golf professionally, to advertising, to hell, I sold things door to door. But just in the last 4 or 5 years, Sober Caddy Creative Agency has kind of gotten on the map, and I'm grateful and humbled by that. But I think we still stay true to our one-on-one. We work directly with individuals and companies, and I really want them to. I never want us to feel kind of a big time agency feel. I always want to have a small time agency feel, and I think we still are. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, kind of a small agency, and I love that, and love the staff, love everything. They get all the credit. I'm kind of out in the forefront doing presentations, and kind of got to be known for just listening and kind of asking questions, and people, thankfully, the phone keeps ringing. So I'm going to keep listening and learning more about people, because I get fascinated. In the last 2 years, I'd say 3 years, just became overly fascinated by how, people make thoughts and their thought, how to change thoughts and habits. And, I look back on some of my life and see like why I made certain decisions, sometimes really, really bad. I started, abusing drugs and alcohol when I was 17, 18 years old. That lasted until I was like 31. And so in the heart of addiction, I kind of want to dissect certain, just, thought processes, certain habits, certain, why did I do what I did? And, what did drugs and alcohol and the other things kind of give my life that I was so in need of or desperate for? And then you take drugs and alcohol out of my life, and I kind of had this climb. Like my professional, personal, every department of life has gone way up since getting sober, and that normally is really good for people. But like I just, for some reason, I just wanted to say, like, because people kept saying, like, I have families like, how did you get sober, and how did you do what you do, and how did you get to be where you're at? And I was on a stage, a presentation, and some college age woman asked, like, how did you get to the spot you're on? And I was kind of taken back because I didn't know how to answer that question. And so I decided, I walked off that stage and I called up my assistant and anyone that wanted to listen. And I said, I really want to get a grasp on what got me here and my thoughts and my habits and everything. So, and lo and behold, it's become what people kind of know us for. So tapping into your authentic self, your habits, and your thought changes is really what our core principles, our coaching firm kind of is based on.
I love that. Well, and I think that's a lot of what I kind of do. I think, just to touch on so many things here, because you're talking about your journey. And I think, when we talk about people's journeys like this, when you have these journeys where you've overcome something and then you get on the other side and somebody says to you, like, how did you do that? Like, it's anything really. Like, it could be a business you're building or whatever. They look at the end result, right? And they say, okay, so how did you get there, right? And then we have to backpedal and go, okay, what were the steps that I took to get from here to here to here to here? So thank you for touching upon that, because I think that's important. And the episode that I recorded before this, we kind of touched upon that same thing of recognizing the journey that we went through to get to where we are. But I also like that you're talking about this whole authenticity thing. And I think that that's because, or I think that's a great thing. And I think when you go through something hard, you have the ability to be raw and authentic about your journey. And I think people kind of appreciate that. You know what I mean? When they see that, it's like the real thing. If you're going to be authentic about this and up forward, then they are going to somehow translate that into, hopefully that's what you're going to do with me in business. You're going to be authentic and real in business.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to kind of authentic communication and authentic leadership. And you can kind of put authentic into, in front of a lot of things. Right. And that's what I love to do. And, so when I really wanted to learn how to communicate better to, internal staff, to clients, to presentation, to whatever it may be, stop saying and like so much, which I still fail at.
We all
every
do
time.
Sometimes.
And I kick myself every time. But, authentic communication, I knew you can't really communicate authentically if you're going to withhold something from within that communication. And, I think, I've heard a lot of times people are, thank me and appreciate how open I am. And, some people will sit down with me or one of our other clinicians or coaches here. And, I want them to know, like, this is not us looking down on, and it's more, let's communicate authentically. Let's find out who you authentically are meant to be. And I've made mistakes and you're going to make mistakes. And so I want to have that kind of authentic communication where it's in the sense that, like, hey, let's get vulnerable enough. Like, here, I've not succeeded in every aspect of my life. Whatever it may be. And so, that's to me is really big with, just kind of, I think too many people set out for a goal, and they commit to working out every day or whatever that goal is, and then they think that goal is going to lead them to being a certain person that they kind of envision in their mind. what I do is I flip that around. Like I start out with who you authentically want to be. Like who do you want to be? Like let's substitute. Let's not what your mom and dad want you to be, or what your coach wants you to be, or what the fans want you to be. Whatever it may be. Let's find out who you authentically are. Let's find out those habits that are aligned with your authentic, person that you want to come be, and the outcomes and the goals and all these things will take care of itself. So I think habits and thought process and what I call kind of systems, and James Clear, who I love talking about habits, talks about the systems, like the underwater portion of the iceberg. Everyone just sees kind of the
Right.
goals or
So, but no, I think this is good. And I like that you're talking about authenticity and putting it all out there, and, and working with your people, and leadership, I think is so important. And I feel like you and I are kind of similar in how we're looking a little bit on how we're looking at working with people, because funny enough, the episode I did before this, we talked about exercise was one of the things that we talked about, because people, they get so hung up on this goal, right? Like you were saying, they have a goal and then they put metrics around the goal, right? So let's take exercise, for example. They say, I'm going to exercise. And now keep in mind, exercise for me is a no-brainer. I've done it for years. I do it every day. If I don't, I told this person I have to make a conscious decision to say I'm not going to exercise today, that I want to rest, because I just do it. But let's say somebody doesn't, right? And they go and they set this goal, and then they decide, what do? They're like, I'm going to exercise every day. I'm going to go to the gym every day. Or I'm going to go 3 times this week, and I'm going to go 2 hours. So they put these unrealistic metrics on these goals, rather than saying, I would like this to be a lifestyle change that I would like to do. Maybe they do that, but to observe, to really take that in and say, I'd like that to be part of who I am as an individual. So help me create that. And in that, I even went so far to say, sometimes you have to change the metric. So if you absolutely despise going to the gym, don't go to the gym. Go do something else you like to do. Go walk the dog, join a kickball team. I don't know, go bowling, do something that has physical activity, so that you can change the way you're looking at the exercise, and now maybe ingrain this into your life where you're not fighting it so much. Right?
Yeah. That person that doesn't like the gym or working out, just call him Jay. I mean, that's me in a heartbeat. I mean, because I always joke, like, gyms make me break out in a sweat. I mean, I don't like it. And so, but I love what you said. That I love what you had to say, because like I went through this whole thing, and so I committed to. I found out what I'm, really truly willing to do, and one of it was I started off as a 5-minute walk. I was going to go outside my office or outside my house or something, take a 5-minute walk, and that's kind of evolved to a 45-minute walk, which I truly look forward to each and every day. Because there's a lot of things that I've learned through habits and thoughts that I can do in that 45-minute walk, where I don't even bring my phone anymore, and I cut off and start thinking about days and kind of refresh through the mind. But that to me is the closest thing that I will do to exercise on a daily basis. And you're talking to a guy that's probably went through 12 different personal trainers in his life. There's probably I may still have a gym membership that I'm just refusing to, who knows, but because I get, I say, as long as I have the gym membership, then I can always, I'm a gym guy, so I always delayed canceling it. And one I found a real nice one where they had a juice bar and kind of smoothie and a basketball court, which I really loved.
I'm there.
So, and I kept that on as kind of a club. I looked at it as like a social club instead of, but when that's kind of just touching with, what we talked about authentically is, I found out who I really wanted to be, what I was willing to do authentically, and didn't make these observant, goals that I need to lift like 225 or deadlift or whatever they say, or I'm not going to work out. I'm not going to do stair. I've looked at Pelotons and all this online, this mirror thing that talks bad to you or something. And I've looked at all those and tried, but I'm going to stick to my 45-minute walk each and every day. And that's what I'm willing to do. And I think the most important thing that people need to realize is find out what you're really truly willing to do. And because like anytime you create a habit, anytime you reach for an outcome or a goal, like, I spent most of my life throwing out these high goals or outcomes, or I want to be here, I want to be, I wasn't willing to do the work or anything close to, like, I want to climb Mount Everest. I'm going to do it this weekend with no preparation. And so that's kind of how I lived my life. And I think a lot more people are doing, when I'm looking at how we go through life, is everybody wants to do, everyone wants to be, everyone wants to think, whatever it may be. But what are you willing to do to get to that goal? And so sometimes we get kind of hell bent on a certain goal, or we got to do this, or you look at I want a certain business card to say this, or I want the yacht or the car, or and these goals kind of just they dilute your kind of journey, and you're also pretty much almost guaranteed to be missing a lot along that journey because you're only looking at one particular thing. You could have more opportunities and more kind of gains just because you're focused on that. You're missing out on so much. So I appreciate the journey. And I always say, like, embrace and expand each moment, like fill each moment with as much as you possibly can, doing whatever you can and staying in that moment and not worrying about the past or the future, and just kind of jam packing each moment that we have. So I really want to enjoy the journey, and I could have these goals or the vision board, and I do all that as well. But I also tell myself these are things right now in this moment that I may want. That could change next moment. So
Right.
let's not go all in on these things on the vision board. Let's be open. And so that's why I just what I was saying, like, if you put in the work, if you change your thoughts, if you change your habits, and you're doing the things that most people don't see on a day basis. They just see you success or what you're doing or what you're driving or what you're saying or whatever. But if you put a great systems in with habits and thoughts, and meditating and getting in touch with yourself and just living you and not playing characters, you're going to reach a lot of these outcomes and goals without even trying.
Trying.
Because
Yeah.
you look at anyone, like, I can take a look at someone and get to know how they, what their daily schedule is and what their daily habits are, and I can pretty much almost guaranteed kind of knock out who they are, what they do, and how successful they are, because just by looking at their daily schedule and their daily habits.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because I always say, how you do one thing is how you do all things. And so if you look at people's personal habits, like you're saying, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything's bad, but I always say what you're doing, whatever you're doing in your personal, you're probably pulling some of that into your work as well. And if you listen to people, and you kind of hit the nail on the head by looking at people's habits and saying, I can kind of figure out who's successful or not. And I hate to say that I do that too. I look at people's habits and I say, well, if they're having a lot of areas over here where they're struggling with discipline, they probably got a lot of discipline struggles over here as well. And so the good news about discipline is we can all learn it, right? You don't have to be born with it. You can learn to be disciplined. I mean, we can. That's through our habits and the work that we do. And so you touched upon a lot of really good things, but I think the overarching message here is really about the authenticity, right? Defining who you are as an authentic person, and tailoring these goals and your activities and habits really around what you want to be as the human being. That's what I'm hearing from you. If I were to sum that all up, it's
Yeah,
good.
I mean, it's our cornerstone. It's
Yeah.
everything. Our consultations, our first kind of questionnaires, our everything is based around kind of an authenticity audit, what we call, where we kind of just audit, what's led you to this point, what you want to be, and there's so many different answers. Like, so many people, like, you have people like my mom and dad always, from a young age, I remember telling them that I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm talking with athletes, and they struggle with the finding their authentic self, like, off the
Mm,
field, or
right.
like they have to be a certain brand because of the endorsement deals or the fans, or whatever it may be. And so some of these, the mean green, like, toughest linebackers that I see on Sunday morning, like, uh I I'll sit down with, and they're the biggest, sweetest person, and they're almost like, don't tell anyone, like, because they kind of have this playing of a character, like they're this mean tough with the face black, and so I get it. There's your job, and I think that everyone says, like, I don't want to start talking about my thoughts because that's going to make me soft or change the athlete that I am, and I'm just like, hey, like, that's not even close. You do a job. Everyone has a job, and that's what they're really good at. And I want to say you're authentically meant to be an athlete. Let's just talk about your personal life. Like, oh, that's not, they're going into the third marriage, or they're struggling with
Right.
anything like that. And so, like, if we can find balance, because it's almost everyone. everyone. It doesn't even have to be an athlete. That we all played different characters, and sometimes it was ingrained by us. I'm not saying mom and dad was wrong by any means, but like you're going to be this and you're going to be that, and I mean, and we're just young kids, and so I've always had. I don't think my mom and dad. I think they purposely kind of pushed me and my two brothers into like find whoever you are like that. I think they did a really good job, but I delusionally made up that my dad said I needed to get into advertising or I needed to do this or my mom wants me to be a minister or whatever it may be. They never said it. I just delusionally. And so through this authenticity audit that we do, like we find out what this delusion things, what we said to ourselves along the way, what we're continually delusionally telling ourselves, what's legitimate about it, and we kind of have this process where we find out what you truly authentically are. And so it's interesting to have some grown people kind of realize, like, I don't know how I became so successful. Like I don't even enjoy doing what I'm doing for 1 minute of the day. Like as soon as I'm
Right.
able to clock out, but they're just saying like, hey, I got a family, I'm successful, I'm used to this certain lifestyle, and they're like, Jay, I'm unwilling to change. And I'm just like, well, everyone thinks that what we're doing is going to try to change everything. All I really want to do is change your habits and change your thought process on how you see things. And there's some really authentic principles and values that you can take to your current job, even if you enjoy it, to try to turn that kind of thought process. And if you're dreading going to work each and every day, I think you have two options. You can change how you view things and what you're telling yourself subconsciously to change that, or you need to kind of find a new job or something. But it's
Exit. Yeah.
don't. I mean, I think too many people want to make these rash decisions and then like what do I do now? And it's like, well, a good decision would have been stay where you're at and then have these conversations and then make a change. But I
Right.
get the people that have just quit my job after 25 years. Like I'm trying to find
Oh,
out who I am, and it's like, okay, it's like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
So I think people, that's all I really want. I think the social media, everything, every aspect of our life is they kind of pushing us into playing characters or pushing us
Right.
into
Right.
similar beliefs. So that's why I'm so passionate about being authentic. And we were born original. My mom always would say, and I heard it through, like you're born original. God made you original. Like don't die you know, a copy, or
Right.
don't die a
Somebody
character.
else's.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. No, this is good, Jay. And I can sense that and see that. And I think that, I hope that most of us try to be authentic, right? About what we do. I feel like I try to be authentic about the way I operate my show and the people that I bring on and kind of the messaging that I'm sending. And it's funny because most of I get, coaches come in here and I always vet them because I want to know where they're coming from because I don't think we all think the same way. And I get it that we're not all going to be like every, thing's going to be in sync, but I look for authentic people and people that are just conscientious that pay attention about what they're doing, the messages that they spread out and how they're affecting people around them, because I think that's huge, especially in a position where where we're actually working with people and hopefully having some impact influence over them. So this is good. I would love to know, because I know biggest challenge for you was obviously getting into sobriety. That's your personal journey, and a lot of us have these crazy journeys, and thankfully you're on the other side of that, can tell people about that. But I would love to know for our audience, just maybe one of the struggles that you had in really trying to get this business up and formed. Like, was there something that sticks out in your mind that you had to overcome?
Oh, I mean, fear in its purest form. When like I still like, I joke with people like I miss having the paycheck each and every 2 weeks. Like I miss the insurance. I miss the whatever it may be. And when you're the man, and
Right.
people, everything's coming. Like it's there was a long, long time. Don't make. I mean, I made probably every mistake that kind of a young businessman, made. Like we were struggling, and then we got a lot of success, and then that came with like, well, we need a bigger office, and we need more
Right.
staff,
More
and you know,
expenses. Yes.
yeah. And then I'm walking into an office, and like people are like, "Are you Jay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Who are you?" And I go, I started last Monday, and I'm just like, and I walk around like, why are we hiring people like and and then we hit a wall, and I had to get vulnerable enough and call everyone that I could think of. Like my dad has always been my first call, and we kind of talked through kind of just shifts, and he's been there with never asked questions. He's kind of just lets me talk, gives me his advice, and and it's I learned everything. And so some of the challenges that I have is just with dealing with fear basically, and how I get creative, because fear absolutely paralyzes me when I truly want to be authentic with anyone. Like I'm not like fear paralyzed me. I just kind of tense up, and I just
Yeah.
and you see it with sometimes with me just in my day-to-day life, like, and sometimes I'm just open, it's like, oh God, like I just had delusional fear, and I just kind of stopped. So when I got creative enough and I'm open enough, and I got a tremendous staff, and we had to do a massive kind of layoff, like 20 people or whatever it may have been, and that was the worst day of my life, and because I just took it all personal, and it was all my fault, and if we could have brought more business in, and but I'll tell you one thing that so many people said, like, well, just have someone else kind of lay them off or fire them, whatever you want to say. But like I got a lot of good advice, and if we're talking about being authentic, when we're talking about being vulnerable, like it would have been really kind of off character for me to be like, well, just do it Friday. I'm not going to come in and just fire
Right.
everybody. And so
Yeah.
I brought everyone in together, and like the whole staff, and brought people from out of town, off the road sometimes, and we sat down, we had an open dialogue, and I was as authentic as I possibly could. This was a decision that I tried every which way, and I tried cutting my own salary, I tried cutting other people's salaries, and I can't do it, and we're going to be overhead. And so everyone was in the room. I looked at, and I let people know, like, there's everyone has an envelope. You can either open it now in front of others, or you can do it while in private. But I just, I couldn't think of any other way to do it other than, like, I just want to let people know, like, we got too big, and that was my mistake, and just got really vulnerable and authentic. And some people opened their envelope, and it had kind of a, it just basically said, like, either a thank you letter for all your service, or like, thank you for trusting us. And so the letters, everyone looked the same, but like, it was the
Yeah.
toughest, because I knew, and I cried, and it was the toughest conversation I've ever had in my entire life. And sobriety has been great, and that's been tough too. But you know, there's rarely a night that I can think of, like in my active addiction, when it got really, really bad. But the night before, knowing going into the office when everyone was coming in for that, I didn't sleep. I mean, I literally could not sit still. Like that was the toughest
Yeah.
time. So,
I'm
when you
sure.
talk about
Yeah.
the most challenging, it's, the decisions that you make, and then being constantly reminded, like, every decision I make, like, let's hope it doesn't come back to that. Like, my
Right.
mind instantly goes back to that, like, being in front of the whole staff, and knowing half of them are being let go. So,
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. I could see that. Yeah, well, and thank you for sharing that, because I think that's what's great about what we talk on here is we like to keep it real, and that, hey, even though you're successful in an area, there are things we have to overcome within the business. And it's really good, because I talked to somebody the other day on a different show, and we were talking about whether you decide to move somebody to another position or you let them go. And he mentioned the part where it shouldn't be a surprise. Like, it shouldn't be you just walk in and and they get a call, or like a text message. They should already kind of know. And I think you kind of talked about that, just really having that authentic conversation, like, hey, this is where we are. I'm being honest. I think it's good. I want to ask you, I got two more questions I want to ask you real quick. And I know we're pressing on time, but I want to get these. And I'd love to know
yeah.
what you've learned about yourself in this journey.
Uh, you know what? You're good. These are good questions. I think through this whole journey, and even just our conversations today, I mean, this is what makes life so valuable, and why I'm so humble and grateful for it. I mean, I think that I would love to tell people, like, that I fully understand who I am, and where I've been, and what makes me amazing, and what my weaknesses are, and I continue to do that. But I keep, learning more and more about myself each and every communication, each and time we sit down, learning how other people deal with it, going through the mistakes, talking about the mistakes I've made. So, I just know that I'm grateful and humbled are the two leading things. God and as kind of a living amends to all the stuff that I put my mom and dad through. Like I'm really happy to be active in their lives and checking in with them on a regular basis and kind of living the way that makes them the most proud and authentically. Like I'm not going and
Yeah.
playing what they want me to be or want me to say is, I'm Uncle Fun with, I got four nephews and a niece and the fact that they FaceTime me nonstop and, they look forward to it probably because I spoil them way over the
It's good.
top. But, it's those things that,
Yeah.
um, I don't take when I go walk into my office or when I have all this, like it's really easy for people to be like, "Oh my God, this office is beautiful." And how many people do you have working for you? And like I sometimes have to think about that because um, I've made a commitment to concentrate on being a great uncle, being a great friend, brother, son, employer, and just someone that's basically in the fellowship and active and always going to be open with my struggles and open with my successes. So I can tell you that there's a good chance that the most people spend 10 minutes with me. You'll probably get a good idea of who I am as a person and probably quickly realize that I'm not perfect and I make a lot of mistakes. But I think if we can get creative, which I love, I think we're all creative in our own aspect to it. And we mentioned humor in your introduction. I think life beats us down, too much, and I think we need to take some times to kind of laugh. And I love stand up comedy and I love everything, but a timely joke or all my staff meetings and I rarely I know when to be serious, but I also really appreciate the times when we can kind of lighten the mood with a joke. And some of my clients said like, not the time, Jay, for a joke, and but more often than not, I'm dead on. I nail the
Yeah.
timing of the joke, but
Yeah.
it's in active addiction. I work with a lot of people that are going through addiction, and that's the first thing that when they laugh for the very first time, they'll kind of be shocked, like they
Yeah.
learned how to laugh again, and they're like, man, I haven't laughed in years, and that's always stuck with me because I was much the same way. So I think we all need to laugh more, and I think we all need to create more and worry less.
I love it. I love it. Well, you said a lot of good things. The last part would be any final parting words that you want to leave for somebody, advice for anybody, maybe kind of as an entrepreneur, they're budding out there and just going to start something new.
Do the
You,
opposite of what I've done. I mean, I'll just no. In all seriousness, I mean, I think that just realize that where you are today, you're meant to be, and there's no mistakes, and you deserve everything in your life. And if you're going through a tough time, know that the tough time is not going to last real long. But you're going through the tough time because you have the strength to come out of the hole, and if you truly uh, can embrace who you truly are and be comfortable with yourself in a crowded room. That's what the secret of life is. It's not the social media, it's not the followings, it's not the business card, it's not anything, the car, the friends, or anything other than, like, if you can be content and at peace and happy with you in a crowded room with your two feet on the ground. That's all there is to life. I mean, just we all have assets and we all have creativity, and we have just laugh and enjoy life, and know that everything that's brought you to this point happened for a reason. And if it's going through a tough time, you have the strength to overcome it, because otherwise you wouldn't be in that position.
it's true. Good stuff. Good stuff, Jay. So if our audience wants to get in touch with you, maybe they want to catch up with you, see what you got going on, where would you like us to send them?
Social media, it's always us, Sober Caddy, on
Okay.
pretty much every social media. I got on TikTok because my niece got me on there, so I'm even on TikTok. But
Very cool.
SoberCaddyCreativeAgency.com. You can send there's a request, and I still check the request on the online forums because I don't ever want to. I got to a point when we talked about my challenging times when I wasn't even checking my emails. I had someone
Oh,
there
yeah.
that, like, and I made a commitment that I was always going to still check, still wanted to, anytime you email the firm, anytime you email me, just know that it's going directly to me. There's not someone in between. So
Cool.
reach out. I
Yeah.
would love, and if I can be of service, free or not, I mean, anything I can do, like, I just want to keep reaching my hand back and helping people out of a dark spot.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you, Jay. Thank you for your authenticity. Thanks for sharing your story, telling us about what you're doing. We'll be sure when this goes out too, we'll get your links on there so that everybody knows how to get in touch with you if they choose to do so. So I do want to say to our audience, if you enjoy our show, please be sure you head on over to Apple, give us a review over there, hit that subscribe button on YouTube so you can follow us and we can continue telling all these great stories and inspiring and all that good stuff. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start. And every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another. We will see you next time.